Hello, and you're very welcome to the Townhead podcast. It's season 4, episode 19. How are we in that far into the season already? Well, look, it's deadlock against Derry as Jon Daly, I suppose he started off as a record-breaking manager of a 7 clean sheet in Oriel Park. To go through this game tonight, we have Stephen McKevitt. Steph, how are you?
Hi, Chris. All good, yeah.
So our new manager starts off on a record-breaking clean sheet record. I suppose it's better to be creating new positive records than anything else.
Yeah, look, we'll take it and we can get it the minute. I would have took a goal over or a win over a clean sheet tonight, but yeah, look, we'll take it, I suppose.
I suppose going into the match, Steph, we had 2 changes to the lineup. In came Hayden Muller and Cammy Elliott. I suppose that probably says a lot where we are down to kind of bare bones of who's available. In particular, when you look at the bench tonight, and Vinnie Leonard and Sam Case are named on the sub benches, and Derry have. Well, they had Fats, they had Dickie Kelly, they had everything. It kind of says a lot, like in saying that, to get a draw based on even weight of numbers is probably a real positive as well.
Yeah, look, we were missing a few, and it's good for the young lads to get in the bench, even just to experience the match day, of how it rolls and different things like that. I'm sure they were excited. They probably thought they wouldn't get minutes anyway, but it's nice for them to be involved in it. But yeah, like you said, we're missing a few big names and performers that have been doing well for us, like Benson, in particular, who creates a lot from midfield. So yeah, look, I don't know, would you have taken the 0-0 before the game? You probably would have, and it was probably the most likely outcome. But yeah, look, I just had a quick look at the form table, the home form table, after seeing was the 7th success. So we've played 5 at home, and we've won 2 and drawn 3, like 3 0-0s, and then we had a 2-0 win v Bows and the 1-0 against Rovers the last day at home. So yeah, look, there hasn't been a big sprinkling of goals at Oriel Park, but I don't know, like I'm sort of torn between it's a good result and then like we have to be getting more points at home, surely. But look, the form table for the league's home record, like we're sitting second in it, just behind Waterford, who have 10 points and we had 9. So I don't know, like we just probably have to pick up more results away from home.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Look, you have to build on something at home, I suppose, but we do need to, transport a little bit of those clean sheets into something on the road. We're just going to take this opportunity to bring in Dundalk Democrats Niall Newbury. Niall, you're very welcome again. Niall, we're literally just getting in to talk about the match. Just overall, your thoughts on the match tonight?
Yeah, how are you lads? All good. Yeah, I think just listening to Stefan there, I mean, before I jumped on, look, it's one of them, like, before the match, you're playing Derry City, I know like they've been hot and cold this season, but like we've just been cold, for most of it. So I suppose like you are looking at that game going into it and you're saying if you can get any kind of result coming into this, Jon Daly's first home game in charge, a good crowd there today as well. Beforehand, you take a point. And I put it to John myself after the game. Is the feeling in the dressing room? Is it a point gained or 2 points dropped? On the balance of play and chances, you would certainly say perhaps 2 points dropped. But he was very adamant that this is a point gained in the sense of Drogheda United have obviously lost to Shamrock Rovers tonight. We've plugged the gap from 3 points to 2, and like when you're down at the bottom of the league, every single point's going to be crucial. Every single point, and every point's a point gained, I suppose, in that regard. So, look, Jon Daly's remit will be to get Dundalk or to consolidate or keep Dundalk in the Premier Division. That's basically what he's been brought in to do. And anything above that's a bonus. And whether that's through a playoff or whether it's through finishing, probably like with Sligo Rovers winning tonight against Shelbourne, 8th place is looking more and more unlikely as the weeks progress. So you're really looking at Drogheda to try and nab that playoff from them and that sort of a reprieve. But just on the game, I do mean it's kind of hard to put a finger on it because we've been watching Dundalk all season, and I was one of the unfortunates to have travelled to Galway last week, and I mean, and Waterford, in the previous away game, and you're nearly writing off every away match. I don't know what it is about playing away from home, but they're a different team at home, and I know we referenced 7 unbeaten clean sheets as well, a club record in a consecutive clean sheets at home tonight. That being said, we drew 5 of those games 0-0, but they're not conceding goals. I mean, and you've played Bohemians, you've played Shelbourne, you've played Shamrock Rovers, you've played Derry in that run. So they're all the sort of better teams in the league, and you've a clean sheets against all of them for a team that's leaking goals like a sieve when they're on the road. So it's kind of hard to put a finger on it. But tonight, I think, has to be seen as a good performance. He went to he started with a flat 4-4-2, the 2 boys up top. Midfield, we looked a lot more like midfield was very much below par in Galway. I thought Paul Doyle had an outstanding game. Midfield, he had a very difficult night in Galway last week. He was brilliant. Hayden Muller.
Because Steph put the curse on him, don't worry. Steph said he had a cracking match against Shamrock Rovers, so he had to have a stinker in Galway. So Steph, don't say anything about him tonight.
No, definitely not before Monday anyway. But yeah, I think overall, look, chances wise, I think we were by far, well, maybe not by far, maybe a bit too much, but we were definitely the better team. I thought tonight, and created the better chances. Like, if not for a world class save from Brian Maher, I still can't get over how he saved that from Jamie Gullen. I mean, it's a top class save, and only for that, with a couple of penalty appeals as well. One of them looked like it might have been, one of them maybe would have been harsh, in fairness. But I think overall, Derry will probably be the ones who will feel like they've got out of there with a point, to be fair. And the Dundalk certainly would feel like, they could have got the 3 points here tonight. Definitely.
Steph, I'm going to come to you with your defenders hat on here. Is there something to be said for, like, I think I could have called the back 4 again today. Is that something that we're seeing, and that's where these clean sheets are coming from? We asked for some sort of consistency in this team that we didn't have at the start of the year. We were chopping, changing. Who you could have just picked random names out of a hat for who was playing at left back, but since then we've a very settled back 4. Is that where the clean sheets are really coming from?
Yeah,
understanding.
Yeah. Well, look, that's what we've been saying the whole time from the start of the season. Consistency at the back, whatever about chopping and changing your sort of front man or even midfield to a certain extent, but like consistency at the back, getting to know each other. Like Johnson and Boyle seem to have really, struck a good partnership in Oriel anyway, at least. So yeah, look, I think consistency is key to us defending as a unit, and yeah, they're the first 5 names on the team sheet now, really, aren't they? Like, so I think the proof's in the pudding, where you see the results and you see the performances, even like, Boyle putting his head to that boy's shot that was looking like it was going goal bound. So look, we don't know if Monroe was going to save it or not, but like even the likes of that, like they're putting their head where you mightn't necessarily put your foot at times. So yeah, look, they're taking pride in the clean sheets, and look, they'll be well aware of clean sheets at home, and you sort of just, I don't know, you feed off that as well as a player when there's a record out there and you're trying to hold on to it or you're trying to better it, and it's worked well for us at home, at least anyway. So
Niall, there's plenty of people asking us to comment about the referee tonight, and look, we'll come to that in due course. But with everything that's happened in the goalkeeping department this year, what you were hoping for is Monroe just kind of does the basics and does it right tonight. And next we see him, dallying on the ball a long time, and suddenly he strolls out of the box in front of Pat Hoobin, who was always going to complain to the referee about it. Like I was begging, the football gods that this does not come back to haunt him. And I've seen Will Patchen lining up. I was like, oh no, he's just gifted him this, hasn't he?
Yeah, it would have been typical. It was certainly one of them where I was kind of like, I was sitting alongside some of the Derry City journalists tonight, and it was just one of them things. You just don't see it very often in a match. Like, it's kind of, it was quite bizarre actually, in the sense of like, there's absolutely no danger whatsoever, and he's as you say, Chris, he's like he's dilly-dallying on the ball, and he's carried it too far, and he's gone maybe slightly outside the box. Look, referees obviously the Derry City players are going to appeal for it. The referees is within his rights to give it as a free kick. It probably is by the letter of the law a free kick. Mm-hmm. But you're thinking, this is going to be typical. We've well,
the spotlight's on him, and you're just thinking, don't make a silly mistake, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously he had a very difficult night. He made a horrendous mistake in Galway last week for the first goal. Almost claws it into his own net, straight from a corner. And you're thinking, the confidence is obviously naturally going to be low for him tonight. And it wasn't a good start. But in fairness to Ross Monroe, he grew into the game after that. He sort of looked more assured after that error, I think. And a good back four, as you say, playing in front of him tonight, which, a back four that is now starting to pick itself. And we've also got the option, if we want to play a back three, you can bring, maybe Mayowa into that as well, if you want to play a back three with two wing backs. So we've got options in that department now. And, we were saying that we needed that bit of consistency. So, I think Ross Monroe started to look a bit more assured then, after that. That was a bit of a ropey start for him and for us in general. But, he kind of grew into the game, and he didn't, in fairness, Derry didn't really test him as much as maybe they would have liked after that. And, Derry, I'd have to say, I know, I seen one of the comments there about Derry being poor, and it's hard to kind of disagree with that. I was at the game at the Brandywell, from Jason Crawley there, and I was at the game at the Brandywell at the start of the season, and although Derry, it was Stephen O'Donnell's final game in charge, and although Derry, pasted us 4-1, they actually didn't play very well at all. And one of my memories from that game was, there was two older gentlemen sitting in front of me in the press area, and one of them just said to the other at the full-time whistle, paper over the cracks, in left 4-1 win. Because, let's face it, any team would have beaten Dundalk that night, I think. So, and probably would have put a couple of goals past them. So, I haven't been impressed with Derry from what I've seen of them, even on televised games and the two games I've watched them against Dundalk. Tonight, no different. They're very hot and cold. It's very hard to envisage that Derry team going on to win the league. And they didn't really test Ross Monroe as much as they would have liked to. A goalkeeper who was playing with a lack of confidence, and with the attacking prowess that Derry have. Pat Hoban didn't have a sniff tonight. Really.
Nothing. Yeah. I was actually saying that to Steph, office Steph, just, Zach Johnson just completely marked him out of this tonight.
Yeah. Zach Johnson was superb, and Pat Hoban, didn't have a sniff at all, and wasn't really in the game whatsoever. You were nearly there was obviously question marks whether Pat was going to get a frosty reception or what the crack was going to be. I don't think he personally deserved a frosty reception by any means, but we didn't really even get a chance to see if he would, because he barely touched the ball. To be fair, so it was definitely an off night for him. And Derry in general, I thought. But Derry had a few of them, and the pressure seems to be mounting on Rory Higgins from the commentary up there.
Right, go on.
Just before we want to go, I want to go back to the Monroe handling it outside his box. I actually text 2 or 3 of my mates to say this is the third time this season. I think I'm trying to remember back, but Shelby definitely was standing inside his box for the draw of the game. He was standing inside his box, and he pulled the ball back into his box, which he got away with. And Monroe's definitely done it once. I think it was an Oriel. I'm trying to scratch my head. Remember, I'll have to look back over old meshes, but I'm saying I think we've got away with 2 or 3 of them this season, and it's odd because silly stuff like that just sticks in my head. But thankfully we got away with it. But hopefully it won't be giving me daggers for giving out to the goalkeepers again. It didn't cost us this time, so I can't give it too much.
Exactly. Right. Don't hang yourself on this one now, Steph, but, in particular, starting in a 4-4-2 kind of formation, and the holding two in the middle being Paul Doyle and Hayden Muller, we've seen something a lot more solid for them. I don't think there was anything, I wouldn't say they kind of jumped off the page at you or anything like that, but they were kind of industrial, if you know what I mean, about what they done. Is that kind of what we needed without having Robbie Benson in there, Steph? Just do the basics and do them as well as you can do, and fight and go in for every ball without giving away too many stupid frees.
Yeah, when they don't try and overcomplicate it, it seems to work. I think we played pretty much a box sort of midfield. We weren't playing out and out wingers, which probably helped as well. And look, when you see players trying to do things that are outside the realms and just keep it simple, sometimes that they just come off so much better. I think when Paul Doyle offensively gets the ball and moves it and then gets into a position again, then he's excellent. But when he holds on to the ball, he seems to get caught on it quite a bit. So like it's night and day. It's probably just getting the consistency. Then it doesn't seem to be like, you know, a 7 out of 10 every week. It's like a 4 or 5, then it's up at an 8, back down again. So like, look, I think that's probably a running theme of our performances in general as a whole. But yeah, like when your midfield isn't really playing well, then you sort of tend to struggle. But when we're doing well in there, then, you know, we seem to be on top. And I don't think anybody could say like Derry were the better side out there, not by a long stretch. So we definitely shaded it on the big chances as well. But when they keep it simple, I think that's the best way forward for me. Just looking at what we can do out there.
Yeah, Niall, like we've seen Hayden Muller have to revert and play in numerous positions. Let's just say in his time at Oriel Park, this was probably one of his more standout performances without being, you know, fantastic in anything. But he just, you know, he was asked to do a job tonight, and I think he done it very well. Yeah,
I agree 100%. I mean, like, you know, Paul Doyle and Hayden Muller, I think, you know, without going, like, obviously almost slipping under the radar in some respects tonight, but they both of them put in a very good performance. Like, neither of them really put a foot wrong, I don't think, throughout the night. I mean, they were very, very good. And obviously Hayden Muller's had to, you know, has been utilised in several positions, you know, centre half, left full, you know, centre mid. He played centre mid in pre-season actually a couple of times, I believe. We didn't really see him there again, but until recently enough. So, I mean, he's done well when called upon, actually, in fairness. And, you know, he's done well tonight in that position.
Is he in danger of becoming one of those utility players, though, that you're not too sure what his best position is, but he can play in several?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I couldn't tell you what Hayden Muller's best position is. I mean, I actually feel, personally speaking, and it's just my opinion, like in centre half, he nearly struggled at times. In centre half, for whatever one reason or another, he seems a little bit better in left full, maybe. But centre mid might be his thing. Absolutely, yeah. So he's going to have a shocker now against Pats now on Monday.
It's only me that has that.
Yeah, but no. But I think, you know, it's just trying to find a place for him in the 11. And I know Stevie tried him. I might have been the Longford friendly at the beginning of the year. He tried him as a in a centre mid position. We didn't really see him there again after that for whatever reason. He didn't do too badly. Like, you know, obviously Stevie was trying things out in pre-season, seeing who could play where. Because I think I'm not sure Hayden Muller knows what his best position is, let alone, you know, us watching him. So yeah, he's very much a player that's kind of we're still trying to figure out a little bit. But he done well tonight. Muller, as did Paul. And I was happy for Paul Doyle because, you know, Paul Doyle had a difficult night in Galway last week, but I think really redeemed himself tonight in some respects as well. So yeah, the midfield looked good. And I mean, like, I think in fairness to Dundalk, you know, you mentioned the back four, like, we're just kind of, I did say it a few weeks ago, it might have been when I was here, that like we actually have sort of shored up like certain areas of the pitch, like defence being one of them, where we haven't been conceding as many goals. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that the last goal we conceded at Oriel was the 5-0 against Sligo.
Wow, we conceded them all in one game.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So, like, we have shored it up in some respects, particularly at home. It's just trying to find them at the other end. Do you know what I mean? And like we admittedly missed some glaring chances tonight. You know, Gullen will be disappointed with the one he kind of blazes over. He probably should score. Then there's the world-class save from Brian Maher. Look, he's done everything right. I think Gullen, in fairness, it's just it's a brilliant save. But I mean, in fairness to Jamie Gullen, I think he's done well tonight. He was unlucky not to find himself in the score sheet. And I think I did say it somewhere maybe last week that, like, if you actually look at him play, I think he offers a lot. I don't think he's the kind of striker who's going to score 20 goals a season, but his hold-up play is really, really good. And the way he brings other players into the play is very, very good. He just needs to play off somebody. And I know he went with a front two today. Cameron Elliott, in fairness to him, didn't do badly today. But you've kind of got two strikers trying to do the same thing nearly, and they're not really, you know, we've come away drawn another blank today. I know we've broken a record tonight with clean sheets, but we're not scoring them at the other end still, and it's still a glaring issue. Jon Daly, maybe being a striker, a good striker himself in the past as a player, might be a man to maybe try and help the lads, but it's something we really need to work on, because it's all well and good keeping them out, but we're not going to win games, and we do need to get points on the board and, you know, really take advantage of Drogheda dropping points whenever they do.
Steph, look, the big chances did fall to Gullen tonight, and, you know, in particular the one in the second half that he puts over the bar, and you're just thinking you got to get that at least on target. The interesting thing for me was at full time when all the team marched over towards the shed, Jon Daly made a beeline straight over for Gullen, whose head was down a little, and told him to lift his head as quick as he can, and had a little word in the ear. At full time, Adrian Taff asked him, you know, what did you say to him? And he said, look, it's just one striker to another. You just got to keep going. That as long as you're creating those chances, it's going to come from you. And when you get one, you might get loads. But he was very quick to run over and make sure he keeps that confidence in him. Is that the sort of manager that Jon Daly is going to be? Is that sort of a man manager maybe that Gullen was missing?
Yeah, you'd hope so. I think man management's vital. You know, if we're going to get out of this, we're all going to have to stick together, and little bits like that, you know, it'll probably lift his confidence as well. I'm sure he was probably feeling at full time, like, you know, that could have been 3 points if I could have put one of those chances away, but he probably needs one of your off the backside goals, Chris. That you dream of it. But yeah, he probably just needs one to get deflected in. You know, he looked a bit more lively tonight, and even when he got the ball, I think maybe Doyle played it into him close enough to the edge of the box, and he took 2 touches out of his feet and let one fly. Like we hadn't really seen that from him since, you know, maybe the Rovers game at the start of the season, or like, you know, you'd seen it in little patches. But yeah, like I heard a quote during the week, like your last miss is only your next closest one to scoring. So hopefully that's the case. Like he scored 3 this season, two free kicks and then a penalty. So like if he breaks that duck, like a few weeks ago they were talking about Erling Haaland being the worst player in the world, and then he turns around and goes in a goal fest again. So Gullen's the new Haaland. But like, look, I'm just comparing, like, you know, the best strikers in the world, the best goal scorers in the world go through rough patches. So hopefully he does get that goal, and then let's just see where it takes him. But look, we're gonna need goals to get out of the situation we are. It's okay clawing back a point, but you know, if things fell wrongly for us in the last couple of weeks, you know, we could have been, you know, really in massive trouble, and that's only us looking to claw back Drogheda for a playoff spot. So, yeah, look, we're gonna have to get goals from somewhere. So I hope they come from. I don't care where they come from, I suppose, but you know, hopefully they start flowing in. We seen young Kenny coming off the bench, and he was lively, and you just wonder one of these days, like, he seemed to get more minutes tonight, which was great, and he was sort of a thorn in the side of Mark Conley for a while. He put in a strong challenge straight away to let him know he was there, and then he sort of blocked one of his runs. He was trying to close down, he blocked one of his runs, and you know, you could just get a sense that Conley was going to be a bit worried if Kenny got a run on him at all. So you just wonder, is it going to come to a stage where they're going to have to either put him in from the start or give him a longer run and just say to him, look, playing the last man and just close everything down. Don't want you coming in past into that 10 area, and maybe Gullen can be that link play. Because some of his link up play and touches are excellent, but then he just struggles to get there if balls get into the box. So look, I don't know. We'll all be claiming more tactical geniuses. If
But it was
Kenny
funny,
does
Steph, when he came on straight away, the first thing that Gullen, was straight in his ear saying, play past me.
Yeah.
And so he was challenging up for the ball, but he knew that, Conley wanted to just sweep up everything behind, and he's thinking, Kenny's got a bit of pace to have a go with him. And like you say, he come on, and I think Conley won that first one, and he was thinking, I have this lad, and then he starts running at him, and you could see him. He was laying everything back to Mar then, soon as Kenny come on, rather than being, a little bit more adventurous, trying to play it forward. He was like, just play it back every time to the keeper. He didn't want to take on or have Kenny kind of challenging him at any stage into space.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't giving him an easy time, and he probably gave him something else to worry about. Like Conley was happy to let Gullen, stay in front where he could see him, whereas Kenny's running left and right and then behind him and running past him, and he's probably saying, I don't really need this in the last 10, 15 minutes of the game. So yeah, look, I don't think Mark Conley was the quickest. Quickest on the park. He always used his head, but sometimes, if someone's more athletic than you, you just can't match it. Like, as clever as you are or whatever. But look, it might be like it'd be a fairy tale sort of a story. If
I was just going to say, that's setting it up nicely, isn't it, for Monday?
Yeah. Well, look, he's in amongst it now. Like, for the first 4 or 5 games after scoring the Malone Cup, he wasn't even getting in squads. So, he's really in amongst it now, and it's not like he hasn't really done it to warrant a start. But you're just thinking, like, nobody really has. The 2 strikers that have been in there haven't been scoring goals. Yeah, they've been nice one. Yeah, they've been busy and they're working hard. But look, we need goals. A striker is there to score goals for us. So, look, I'll show the boys my pace.
Niall, look, the big chances, I suppose, tonight, they pretty much all fell to Jamie Gullen. It's like Elliott's header, I suppose, at the back post too. And I think O'Kane probably offered a little bit more as well, I thought, when he came on. Like he flashed that one wide. Like, did we see more impact from some of the subs tonight? Although our bench was tight for what changes we could have made.
Yeah, our bench was very, very bare. I mean, like, we've had injuries. Obviously, you've got a lot of under-19s on the bench now. You've got Sean Malloy, sub-keeper. Vinny Leonard, I think, is still only 15, I believe. Is he? Or maybe he's just turned 16.
I think he's just turned 16, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he's just turned 16. Was on the bench tonight. Played a couple of Leinster Senior Cup games. Luke Mulligan, obviously Sean Keogh, Sam Case, like all these lads on the bench tonight. So, like, we didn't have a plethora of options to kind of bring on. I mean, in terms of experience, playing against a team like Derry and the hardy professionals that are in that team. Obviously, Owen Kenny comes on, in fairness to him. But like Ryan O'Kane did come on. I think he looked a bit bright. He had that chance, actually. And actually, a lot of people over where the stand area is actually thought it was in. I'm not sure what the reaction over the shed side was, but a lot of people thought it was actually in from that angle.
Because it rolls along the back net. I think after it,
it's always the killer. So there was a few cheers cut short, like, you know what I mean, in the stand, which was unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, he looked bright, and Ryan O'Kane's had a bit of a sticky patch, I suppose. Look, as of all the players, when you've scored more, like when you've had more managers than you scored home goals. I mean, in a season, it's always going to be a sticky patch for most players. It's very hard to get any kind of rhythm or form going for any of the players. Like, and it's been a very difficult time. Like, even the last time I was on this podcast, Noel King had just been brought in, and we were talking about, I think it might have been after the Bows game, and we were all like team Noel King. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It was great. Like, you know what I mean? And things were going to be okay. And then suddenly, Noel lasts 25 days, and suddenly we're on the hunt for a manager again. So, look, it's been a very, very, treacherous sort of season for Dundalk. It's not unlike maybe it's perhaps fitting that Mike Tracy was a special guest tonight, because it sort of reminded us of 2021, I think, in some, or the peak 6 time, or towards the end of the peak 6 time. Like, because this season's just been absolutely chaotic, like to say the least. Because for four managers, if you're counting Liam Burns as a caretaker.
Well, since the last time Jon Daly came here, so Jon Daly faced Stephen O'Donnell. The amount of water that's passed under that bridge since the last time Jon Daly was in Oriel Park is ridiculous.
Yeah, and now like on Monday you've got Jon Daly going back to Pats, Stephen Kenny obviously in the opposite dugout, ex-Dundalk legend. Meanwhile, Ireland still haven't got a manager. Do you know what I mean? It's just a crazy time for Irish football, it seems like, and there's a lot of subplots. It seems every game now there's a subplot, particularly in the dugouts, like, you know what I mean. So I think but look, it just goes back to my earlier point. I mean, it's just been hard for any of the players really, and I think some of the performances tonight were very, very good. There's been very few players in the team who've been consistent performers because it's just not the environment for a consistent performer in the team this season. And maybe Zach Johnson being the one that maybe is standing out to me at the moment, who's maybe week in, week out putting in good performances, like, you know what I mean, or doing his best, or like not doing his best, but like putting in, consistently good performances and for the level. So I mean, it's very, very difficult for a player like Ryan O'Kane or these attacking sort of players like Darren Horgan as well. I thought tonight, showed a lot of had a lot of good moments. You know what I mean, a lot of creative moments on the pitch, like, and seems to be getting better and better and better. And maybe we'll start to see more from him now. But I mean, it's just been difficult. It's been a difficult time for us, and I suppose, look, we could do a separate podcast talking about the ins and outs, and we haven't even mentioned really like that. Obviously, we've got 2 new coaches coming to the club this week as well. Jon Daly slowly but surely starting to assemble his backroom team, and I'm fairly certain that there'll be a few new additions into the squad, into the playing squad, come July as well, and maybe a few players going the opposite direction too.
Steph, you tapping up any of these possible players that we could be coming in? You chatting to anyone who shouldn't be in and around Oriel?
No, look, I think there was a few picture hints and clues during the week.
Greg Sloggett was there tonight. He was there tonight as well. Greg Sloggett,
yeah. I seen him up there. So it was a couple of celebrities himself and Dublin Hanks. I seen not too far away from each other walking out of Oriel. So look, I think he definitely brings Sloggett back in. Like, I think he hasn't been away for that long. I know he had an injury when he went to Cheltenham, and I'm sure that didn't help matters. He was only on a very, very short-term deal. I don't know what that was all about. I presume with his other half playing over there was probably just to be close to the horse or something. I'm not sure, but it was a bit of a strange one. But yeah, look, I don't think I'd say it struggled to find anybody having an objection to bringing Greg Sloggett back into the club. I thought he was not a standout, but like he plays for the jersey. He's always 100% committed. We've seen him have some fantastic games in the lily white shirt. So yeah, look, I think we definitely need strengthening up in certain areas, and obviously some of our better performers are only on loan, which is very worrying. I think we've all been giving glowing references to Zach Johnson, so hopefully that hasn't made its way over to Sunderland too much. Bradshaw's been excellent. I'm sure that parent clubs have been keeping an eye on them and monitoring how they're getting on. But like, I'd say Bradshaw, you might struggle to hold on to him more so than Johnson. Like, Sunderland are a massive club, and he's young. He's very young to come in as centre half in the Championship, where you'd probably say Bradshaw's versatile. He's a big and strong lad. I think Lincoln are in League One, are they? So
yeah,
it's hard to envision holding on to 2 of them. But look, if we could hold on to even Johnson, it would be great. But like you said, we're gonna have to bring in reinforcements one way or another. I imagine it will happen. Hopefully there's the finances. I've been told there's finances there to bring in players as well. So let's hope that comes to fruition as well. Niall, you might give us a few insights.
Niall must be standing in the bread aisle in Super Value in Blackrock these days to find all that out, doesn't he?
That's where you hear all the best rumours around town. Super Value.
There's plenty of rumours. Nathan Shepherd's, of course, a free agent as well. Like, you know what I mean? So, but I'm not sure if his representatives are going to be wanting to do business with Nathan Shepherd.
Can't remember. Don't know. He must have played with the club.
Don't know who he is. Like, never heard of him. Never heard of him.
Only joking.
But yeah. Well, look, I think in fairness, I would imagine a goalkeeper will be on the shopping list, one way or the other. Obviously, Peter Cherry's come back to the club this week as a coach / third choice keeper maybe. But my best guess is with George Shelby obviously departing the club during the week that another goalkeeper probably will be signed. Whether that goal is going to come in to be number one is another matter. Ross Monroe, although did okay tonight, has struggled, at times, and as did George Shelby, of course. So I think a goalkeeper will probably be on the priority list. Probably another option up top as well might be something they might look at. I think Jamie Gullen's done quite well in recent weeks. I think he's been. I've seen improvements from him. I think it's just finding those goals, like, you know what I mean. But I think he has. As I said earlier on, his hold-up play is really good, and the way he brings other players into the game, he actually is doing a lot of. And even tonight, he got in good positions tonight and had those chances. It just didn't fall for him, or the rubber to green just didn't fall for him, in terms of getting that goal. But I'd say midfield as well would be a priority. Like, I think my understanding is that he will want to be bringing in maybe 4 or 5 players, perhaps tops at most. Like, you know what I mean, maybe in the summer window. With Greg Sloggett, obviously the Greg Sloggett rumor is obviously the most prevalent at the moment. There's he's been at a couple of games. Like, I'm sure Greg will have a couple of suitors, in the league and maybe possibly in the north as well. I know Linfield and Shelbourne were tracking him before he went to Cheltenham as well. So he's bound to have suitors as well. And if Dundalk can offer what he needs, I don't, as Stefan said, I don't think anyone's going to really object to seeing Greg Sloggett come back. But like, there's no real names being thrown out there. Jon Daly was asked a couple of questions in relation to potential recruits tonight. He's naturally going to remain very, very sort of coy on it. He did say though that Jerry Malone might be his new head of recruitment. Like, so after one particular question. So we
look forward to that.
But so look, all joking aside, like, there will be players coming in, and there'll probably be a couple going the opposite direction. But like, it's probably too early to say who those names actually are going to be at the moment.
Yeah, because we've already lost 3 when you think of it. Yeah. Like, Shelby's gone, he's obviously gone back, and then McGuckin's been injured, and I believe he's come back in July.
And Scott High,
Scott High. So the squad's quite bare with those players going back. Zach Bradshaw, more than likely, as Stefan kind of said there, will be going back as well. I know the club are very hopeful of keeping Zach Johnson. I actually think it's quite imperative that we do try to hold on to Zach Johnson beyond the summer months, because he's been quite a revelation for us, as has Bradshaw. But the fact is, the matter is, like Stefan alluded to, Lincoln City playing in the lower leagues, like in League One, he's probably going to, like, Lincoln are probably going to need him a lot more than Sunderland are going to need Zach Johnson, that kind of way. So it's kind of hard to envisage just keeping both of those players. But if we can keep one, it probably would be Zach Johnson. And, he's been tremendous in fairness and was brilliant again tonight for us.
Yeah. Look, Steph, before I suppose we kind of preview and chat about the upcoming Pats match on the Bank Holiday Monday, we might as well, like, there's plenty of comments in for a man of the match. It's probably pretty much down between 2 and let's say there could be 2 defenders on this. Again, we're probably picking between the defenders as our man of the match. Steph, for yourself, what's your thoughts on your man of the match for tonight?
Yeah, I think I've give Johnson a record number of man of the matches. I think he pushed Chris Shields very close.
Could be, yeah.
Chris Shields man of the match season we had a couple of years back. But look, I think it's, like, again, it's hard to not look at defensive side of things when the match finishes 0-0. I thought while we didn't, like, I know Johnson's obviously kept Hoobin quiet, and then I think we've mentioned Doyle and Muller being pretty good in centre mid, but just for that headed clearance from Boyce that I reckon was going in, I'm probably just going to shade it for Andy Boyle. I thought, like, again, like he seems to be, I don't know if he's improving every week, but he's giving you that consistency. Like, it's Jekyll and Hyde home and away performances, but definitely at home. He's definitely looks like, the presence at the back that we really need to keep the clean sheet run going. So yeah, I think he's just shaded it for me. Bradshaw's been good as well, which he has been over the last couple of months. But I just shaded for Andy Boyle this week.
Niall?
Yeah, defensively, Dundalk outstanding again tonight, obviously. But I think, in fairness, like, attacking wise, we had our moments too. I thought, like, obviously I mentioned Doyle at the start of the show. I thought Paul Doyle had a very sort of under the radar, solid performance, especially on the back of such a difficult week in Galway for himself personally last week. Hayden Mullock done quite well too. I thought Jamie Gullen had a great performance tonight. Not getting that goal, he'd be kicking himself not to find the net. It was there for him, but I thought he had a very good game. I thought even Cameron Elliott was better than what we've seen. But defensively, obviously, Andy Boyle, I mean, like Andy, especially at Oriel Park, like, I know Stephen's on with Jekyll and Hyde, but it's been the case of all the players nearly away from home, comparative to being at home. Andy, like, the performances at home of late, it's been vintage Andy Boyle, really. And that header clearance probably is going in, actually, in fairness. And I think
it's getting closer and closer this chance, lads.
Yeah, and I think I might hit the post, actually. I'm not sure, but
They hit that new stanch at the back. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Well, from my angle, at least, it did. But even the way Andy Boyle was on the floor, like, the players got him up. They were celebrating as if he just scored a goal nearly. Like, it was such a big moment in the game, and those things. If we end up staying up in the league this season by a point, you're probably looking back at those moments. But it is a close second for me. Andy Boyle's a close second. I'm going to have to go with Zach Johnson tonight. I mean, I just think...
Oh, you brought me down the garden path and then you'd close the door on me there. Oh.
I just think for a teenager to have had, probably the best striker the league has seen in the last probably 20 years in Pat Hoban, to have had Pat Hoban in his absolute pocket tonight, from start to finish, to the point where he didn't get a sniff in the game, and you wouldn't have known Pat Hoban was on the pitch, really. Such was the performance. And obviously Andy Boyle plays his part in that too. But I just thought Zach Johnson, I know like we don't be giving it to the same players all the time, but I just think he's been such a good I think he's got potential. If he goes back to Sunderland and keeps going on the trajectory that he's going on, even on and off the pitch, his attitude off the pitch seems to be very, very good as well. I mean, he could go on to have a very, very good career in the game if he keeps going on the trajectory that he's going on. For me, it's Zach Johnson, like, just based purely on having Pat Hoban on his pocket. For the night that was in it, all the talk that was about Pat Hoban coming back and all that stuff, Zach Johnson sort of stole the show from him a wee bit. And I think, for me, it's Zach Johnson.
I thought he was going Boiler there.
Yeah. Even after Boiler headed it off the line onto the crossbar.
It was a bicycle kick by the end.
I've given it to Boiler quite a bit, in fairness. I'm one of Boiler's biggest fans, so I've given it to him quite a bit. So I'll go Zach Johnson this week.
I literally started scanning because I was going to pick Zach Johnson as well. So I had to start scanning through them because I thought both of you were going Boiler here. So I was like, oh man, now I got to find somebody who's picked Boyle, because I had the Zach Johnson one lined up, and I was like, right, I got to change it. So
I shafted at you, Chris. Shafted at you.
It's all right. That's going with my original. Yeah, look, mine is Zach Johnson as well, and for the very reasons now you've probably outlined. It's just another accomplished display by him. I think it's probably no surprise we're seeing probably the best of him. With Boyler's experience beside him, I think he's really, talking him and guiding him through the games and in such a strong way, and a settle back four, all of these things you can kind of see that the best of probably the both Zachs from that level of consistency and understanding the players around them, especially when they're such young players like the two guys are as well. You know, you can see probably the more they play, the cool, calm, and collective they are on the ball, and like, it was just an accomplished display. The fact that, like you say, it has all been bigged up for Pat coming back home again. So to silence him, we'll see the messages tomorrow. You know, Zach Johnson gets home and empties out the pockets, the keys, Pat Hubin, and that will be all in them, you know. So on that note, congratulations to Darren McAllister. He mentioned Boyler in there as well, so that's why I've gone with this comment. So Zach Johnson, man of the match for me, and Andy Boyle was brilliant beside him, and they complement each other really, really well. So congratulations, Darren. You are our Tony's Pizzeria 15-inch pizza winner. So we'll get in contact with Vinny there. I was only in yesterday with Vinny, so that account's nicely topped up, Steph, don't worry.
It's in the other week myself, so look, we support our supporters as well.
Definitely, we definitely do, Steph. So it's another one of those double-header weekends. This is definitely something to build on, but like we've been here before, we've had performances we can build on, and then we go away from home and they fall flat in their face. So if you're Jon Daly, what are you picking out? Like, what are you accentuating the fact another clean sheet, that we're still creating the chances, and you're just hoping that one of these has to go in eventually for Gullen?
Yeah, like, look, I think they're probably not just going to focus on one thing. It's probably going to be a combination of everything. I think if they can just build overall, then, you know, we're going in the right direction. It's going to be a massive game. Kenny's only after getting his first win tonight, so, you know, they'll probably be looking at it as, you know, we can really beat Dundalk here. The home form's terrible and whatever else. But yeah, like, I don't know. It's probably a strange one, because when a new manager comes in, you usually get that uplift, and we sort of, it was in between Daly coming in at the last minute and then going on the bench, and we sort of lost that wee spark or something. I don't know what it was, but look, there's been a turnover of coaching staff, a couple of ins and outs. So look, with Graham coming in there, I think he's a great appointment. He knows the league inside out. He's also been involved in the women's side of things as well. But, like, you know, his attention to detail and different people that have worked with him, I'm sure he's going to be looking at the Pat squad, and obviously the two boys know the Pat squad very well. So
yeah,
look, I think if there's any team that they should be able to, you know, find different weaknesses in, and look, it's a massive game for them. Anytime you get let go from a club or get released from a club, there's nothing better than going back and really putting one over on them by getting a win. So look, I don't think we'll have any trouble getting any of the players or the management or coaching staff up for the game. So you just hope it's the likes of the performance against Bows or Rovers, where, you know, you felt like it was a bit different than some of the games. Like some of the games went up to Oriel earlier in the season when we were playing Waterford. Like, we could have been still there until now, and there wouldn't have been a goal for either side.
Yeah,
you know, it looked like they were happy to just get a 0-0. Whereas, you know, hopefully we show that little bit of ambition. Hopefully, you know, the likes of Gullen, you know, missing the chances tonight, one might fall from the next day, and it's a quick turnaround for him to put it right. So yeah, look, I think there's been certain times in the season where you've sort of dreaded a game coming around so early, but I just don't think we'll be dreading it as much, the short turnaround. And look, it's a big, massive game. Like, you know, Pats aren't a million miles ahead of us either. Like, they haven't really hit the ground running since Kenny came in. Everyone was sort of saying, you know, they're not that much off the top of the table. Stephen Kenny's come in and he's going to wave his magic wand. So look, it's still the same players that he has to work with, that Daly had to work with. So you just hope for like you wouldn't even mind if it wasn't that good of a performance and we just nicked a little
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there that'll probably take a draw right now off your hands. With 99% of them. So yeah, look, I think it's not like I'm sort of looking forward to the game. There's been plenty of times this season where you sort of been, wincing a wee bit, saying, "Oh, we've another game there soon." So, but yeah, look, I think it's something to be performance tonight. Bar us not scoring, that's the only black mark on tonight. So yeah, look, if we can just nick a few goals now, it'd be great.
Yeah, Niall, like I suppose it's really been dubbed now with with the two managers going head to head. It's like White Swap season 2 or something about to start here. With swapping over of the of the two dugouts. Like it's got all the headlines written in it, ready for it all. So I suppose you're Jon Daly. You've probably put all the work in this week. It's a short turnaround again to this, and at least, like I think what we were most disheartened about in the Galway match was the lack of creativity and the lack of opportunity we had going forward. But like that's complete opposite tonight. Like we deserve something more probably out of tonight. We are creating the chances, as I said. Daly making that beeline over the goal, and I think that says a lot about him and his preparation for this weekend.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously there's a huge subplot around the game, and it's obviously been broadcast live on television as well for added measure on a Friday, or Monday, I beg your pardon. So look, I mean, John was asked tonight, what reception is he expecting from the St. Pat's crowd. I mean, he said obviously he's not too sure, but he's adamant he maintains that, look, he enjoyed his time there. Like, you have to remember, like, Jon Daly came into Pats last year, they were struggling in the bottom 3 or 4 places in the league. I think he goes on some ridiculous run. I think they won 14 of his 23 games in the league and end up finishing 3rd in the table and win the cup.
There's a dream. That's a dream and a half, isn't it?
I don't see us doing that, but he won the cup as well, of course. But Pats, I mean, obviously Stephen Kenny's come in there now. Didn't look anything hot in the first 3 matches. They've obviously got that big win tonight against Galway. A big win it is. Galway were obviously flying high on themselves, and it's a huge win for Pats there tonight. But that could be the catalyst for them, like in some respects. But Pats, they seem to have a team, like they've got a lot of very, very, very good individual players in that Pats team. But for whatever reason, one reason or another, a lot of managers seem to have struggled at that club. Like, and maybe like Tim Clancy, you got Jon Daly, you got Stephen Kenny coming in there now. Garrett Kelleher, the owner, seems to be a bit trigger happy in terms of letting managers go. Obviously Stephen.
He ain't got a patch on us.
No, he ain't got a patch on us. We've had more managers. We've had more managers than bleeding podcasts like this season. But I think, I mean, obviously Stephen Kenny's come in there now in a 5-year contract. Obviously they've got a big project lined up, and I don't know. Like, I still maintain it's going to be a tough job for Stephen Kenny because the expectation seems to be quite high at Pats, and for a club that haven't won the league in, what is it now, 10, 11 years. I mean, there's still quite high expectation there at Pats. So it's got all the makings of a good game. I mean, I'm going to try and be glass half full here and say we're due a good performance away from home, like, and we're going to get something. But maybe I'm too cynical in the sense that, like, I've been to all the away games, and I've been left, sort of. I've been left sort of depressed by every single one of them on those journeys home. Like, so it just seems like history. But now we got a new manager, so I don't know if it's going to be different with Jon Daly there than it has been in the past, because it seems to be the past. Like, we get a good performance at home, we maybe even get a win or a draw, and then we go somewhere the following week and get absolutely pasted. So maybe it's going to be different on Monday. Fingers crossed it is. But
Niall, in a roller coaster season, have you, like, at least it's the majority of the news has been positive this week out of Oriel Park. Like that must be nice for a change.
Oh yeah, and I think even for the players, absolutely, and for myself, obviously, of course. Like I was talking to somebody during the week, and we were just talking about the season in general, and like even Stephen O'Donnell being at the club seems like 2 years ago. at this point. Do you know what I mean? Like, it actually does. And like, it was only just over a month or so ago. Like,
Oh,
he was still
no
here.
way, is it?
Yeah,
God.
or maybe 2 months ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, it just seems like such a long, like that Derry game in the Brandywell, the reverse fixture of tonight actually seems like such a long time ago now, because so much like shit has happened basically since then. And you know, some of it, you know, our own doing, some of it enforced. But it's just been quite a rocky road, like, and it's put up maybe a couple of years on me, the last 2 or 3 months, like. But I thought we were done with all this when Peak Six left the club. Like, I thought this was all finished, like, and here we are again. You know what I mean? But hopefully with Jon Daly, I think Jon Daly, in fairness, I think even Liam Byrne said it after the Shamrock Rovers game, that what Dundalk need now is a manager, not a coach or a head coach. They need a manager, somebody who's not just going to coach the players and pick the team, but somebody who's actually going to manage the club and you know, sign the players, all this, that, and the other thing. Obviously, with Brian Gartland going, there's no longer a sporting director. It seems to be that the onus has now been put on Jon Daly to 100% manage, you know, the football operations at the club. Like, and I suppose the last manager we had, if you like, was probably Stephen Kenny. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, because Vinnie Perth obviously came in as head coach. Filippo Giovagnoli was head coach. Shane Keegan was head coach. Do you know what I mean? Stephen O'Donnell came in as a head coach. Like, we now have a manager, I suppose. And I haven't even mentioned like all the caretakers we've had in that time as well. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, we, you know, Jim Magilton, you know, Liam Burns has obviously been there as well as a caretaker. So like, yeah, it's been a rocky few years, lads. If we're being honest, not just this season. Like, it's you know, since Stephen Kenny left the club at the end of 2018, it's been quite a rocky road for us in general. And unfortunately, it seems to have come to a head now where we're sitting here at the bottom of the table and we're now talking about, you know, staying in the league as a good season. And it's kind of nearly a sad indictment of where the club's gone. But hopefully we got a manager now who can try and bring us back up to a certain level at least, and maybe get a team together and assemble and put his own stamp on things, which I'm sure he'll start to do in the coming months. He's already got a good chunk of his backroom team in now. It'll now be on to the playing staff, I'm sure, come July, and he'll definitely want to put his own stamp on it.
Steph, when I started that conversation, he was only 16 and life was great in front of him. Dundalk has worn him out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that yourself and Mark have thrown your names in the hat for comment of the night. Like the wife swap, manager swap comment, and then Mark saying feels like the seatbelt sign's going off after a load of turbulence. So I hope Mark's right in that instance. So we could do with a bit of smooth flying or whatever.
Mark's comment would have got a free pizza last week off you. You've hardened up now. I don't know what's going on with you, Steph. But Steph, look, just, you know, you touched on it there with, you know, some of the backroom staff coming in, but just this week was just kind of full of, you know, Peter Cherry coming back to the club, and, you know, he got a good reception there at the end from the shed as well, kind of singing his name. And it just seems to be, you know, the ship seems to be righted slightly. You know, we're going back in the right direction for a change, because it just seemed for the best parts of 2-3 weeks there, it was just like, you know, what's the next crazy story to come out of Oriel? Yeah, for weeks on end there seemed to be like countless days, like at least 4 or 5 days out of the 7 you'd have this story and that story, and just when you think it couldn't get any wilder, somebody else had messaged you something else and you're saying no chance that's true, and then you'd find out it was. You know, it was just like, you know, like I think it's been mentioned plenty of times before, but like if Netflix had made a documentary about the club in the last couple of years, geez, it wouldn't be believable enough.
It would have broke all records. Michael Jordan's last dance wouldn't have had a patch on it.
No.
I mean, like, yeah, crazy. Yeah, and like it's good to hear a couple of good news stories coming out. Badly needed, badly overdue, and you know, like we talked about the consistency of having your back four and stuff like that. Like if you have a consistently smooth background team as well, you know, it'll work wonders. You know, we have that figurehead now, not a head coach, but a manager who'll call shots on the pitch and on the sideline. And, you know, there's been a few people that's mentioned already a different presence on the sideline now. It seems more quietly confident and assured. And look, the two, John's brought in his own man there and Graham, and you know, they've obviously, I know they've got let go from Pats, but they've obviously worked well together, like the run that Niles talked about last year, and the cup, obviously the cup success at the end of the year as well. So look, hopefully we can latch on to some of that success and keep the positivity rolling in, I say.
That's it. Niall, like, you know, what's a good result on Monday now? Like, do you take a bit of an unbeaten run, or or do you gamble as 4 points what we need this weekend?
Look, obviously, in an ideal world, you'd be going there trying to win the game in Inchicore on Monday. But I think in fairness, like, you know, I think what John said tonight in his post-match, it's kind of like every point's going to be a point gained, you feel, at this juncture. Like, you know what I mean? I think where we are now as a team and a club, we're now in survival mode. You know what I mean? That's where we are. And like, we should have been in survival mode for months, but we haven't really been in there. I think now we're starting to see a bit more fight. Obviously, John came in last week. Look, he only met the players, I believe it was 4:00 before the Galway game last week, so couldn't really take any major responsibility for what happened in Galway last week. Although he didn't shift the blame when he was asked about it post-match. That being said, but I mean, today was really his first game, I suppose. I think, like, where he's had a full week's training with the group play, and there was certainly a lot of positives there tonight, and a lot to be sort of, you know, encouraged by. It's just away from home, and we haven't. I think a draw personally would be a great result in Inchicore on Monday evening. I really do. I think, like, we've got to keep taking points to come, and then, you know, we got Shelbourne away, is it?
After that
Friday, you know. So if you get any kind of result in Inchicore, you're suddenly going into that game with a bit of confidence about you. You haven't lost that away game. So, I mean, the next two games are going to be tough, and they're going to be a real test for us because, you know, Pats probably have got a bit of a catalyst tonight in beating Galway in terms of maybe changing their fortunes, and Shelbourne obviously need a response after going down to Sligo tonight. So a bit of a shock result at Talca. So I mean, like, they're two tough games coming up, but I mean, we'll draw a lot of confidence, not just from tonight, but I think even the Shamrock Rovers home game under Burnsy, I think we'll take a lot of confidence from those two performances. If you take that Galway game aside, I mean, we have shown, and I've said this to someone, like, I mean, like, we've shown in spits and spats, like, you know what I mean, that we actually have got, you know, I suppose some good individuals in that team. It's just trying to blend them into a sort of a structured sort of team and getting I suppose a consistent run of form going where we're getting points on the board. And you know, but like, look, the way it is, guys, like, I mean, like, if a couple of wins and you're suddenly you're off the bottom for sure. I mean, and you could be looking at Pats or Sligo then, you know what I mean, trying to maybe get that 8th position. So I mean, it's a case of just keep going. Like, we're only halfway through the season after tonight. We're still at the halfway point. I know it's felt like 10 years, you know what I mean, because of everything that's happened, but we are only halfway through the season, as bizarre as that sounds. So there's still plenty of football to play, and if Jon Daly can get things moving quickly, then, you know, it could be a masterstroke from Brian Ainscough to have got him in.
Eventually, getting the right man in.
Eventually.
Steph, like, just, you know, Mark Harlan putting it in there, you know, Drogs are away to Sligo on Monday as well. Like, so that's also could have a big influence of what happens on Monday.
Yeah. Look, I think we probably just have to worry about ourselves, worry about getting points on the board ourselves, and then we look to there. We'll have to look to their result after that. But yeah, we have to do our own business first, and then worry about climbing the table. I suppose if you're looking at the next two away games, you're saying Pats and Shells away. You probably, realistically, if you come out of there with 2 points, you'll probably be happy enough. just with how poor the away form has been. But like I've said plenty of time, there's no real standout team in the league. Anybody we've come up against at home, we've been more than a match, if not better than them. So like, you know, I think the quality and the standard in the league's definitely dropped a lot. So I don't think if we can just perform like we have been at home, like there's no way we should be fearing any team in the league. So yeah, look, I'm gonna put my positivity cap back on for the first time in a while. It sort of seems like we might have just turned the corner, but we've had a couple of false dawns, and we've been bitten a few times, so we're just a bit shy. We're a bit shy at the minute about, you know, really. But yeah, look, we'll always back the team, and we'll get behind them again. So hopefully they can turn an away performance. So Niall has renewed faith in travelling up and down the road.
We'll see.
Look,
we'll see
and the fact that it's on. Exactly, yeah. Look, the fact it's on a bank holiday Monday, it's going to be good weather and stuff like that as well. You'll hope we'll bring a good crowd up as well. Like, and I think tonight has probably given the fans something to kind of roll in behind and maybe believe again. And look, if Steph's dusting off and putting his positivity cap back on, it can't be a bad thing. Look, it's well after midnight, lads. We should probably start. This happens when Gally's not here. We start so much later. So Gally's away on holidays and everything goes to pot. Before we finish, just want to say thanks as always to our sponsors, to Dundalk Village and Donald Green for the overall sponsorship of the podcast, for Vinny and all the lads in Tony's Pizzeria for our continued support for our Man of the Match competition, and for Player Fit for our jerseys and everything else throughout the rest of the year. I keep promising we're going to do something. We'll have to get on to Carl at some stage, Steph, and actually do something that you design for something for this year. Niall, thanks as always for popping on, Steph as well. And as I said, we roll in to Monday now to Inchicore again for the old Virgin Media cameras. I'll be there on something. If I get it down, the away fans, give us a shout, but not when I'm working, obviously, or I'll be yelled at. But look, tonight gives us something, some sort of a basis to have a go and see what we can get down there. But look, on the road hasn't been easy for us this year, so we have to turn that tide at some stage. And why not do it against Kenny? And imagine the Prince coming off the bench, lads, and stealing the crown from his head. That would just be absolutely beautiful, and would send us all into a short week in good form. Well, look, until that, we'll be back again as always. Some sort of post match. I don't know how the hell are we going to do that with no Gally? I just realised we're going to figure that one out at some stage after. But until Monday, come on to town.